marketers amidst biting petrol scarcity, as marketers says the problem will linger till January. And later on the show, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria warns that new tax on carbonated and sweetened beverages will worsen economy. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Adewale Adeoye. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. Jide, Wale, after 4 years, Governor Gbenga Oyetola has exited as the governor of Osun State, and a new governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke, has just been sworn in as the executive governor of Osun State. 4 years, Gbenga Oyetola.
4 years. No matter what you have against Oyetola, history is always the best judge. History is always the perfect judge, because some of us respond a lot to emotions. And one thing I can say is that he was, in my view, the most frugal governor of his generation. When it comes to efficiency in public expenditure, I have not seen any governor like Oyetola. In spite of the very, very dire financial state of that state, when he came into office, Oyetola left 14 billion in cash.
14 billion naira.
Yes, for this incoming administration.
As broke as that state is.
Yes, as broke, as heavily indebted as that state is. Oyetola, in spite of what he inherited, paid 97 billion out of the debt of the state. Because he knew that if he didn't try his best to clear the indebtedness that he inherited, it will limit the capacity of the state to achieve growth and development. So he was focused on doing that. And he paid 97 billion back. These were not debts that he brought on the state, debt that he inherited. You know? So for someone to not be paying half salary,
modulated salary.
Yes, modulator or whatever funny name you call it, for someone not to be doing that and still able to pay back 97 billion, servicing the debt, and
it's on record, he didn't borrow a dime.
He didn't borrow during his time. How will you borrow now? What you have inherited is, you inherited
some people will still borrow more.
Record level of borrowing.
Some people will still borrow more.
Yes, I know. I know some states, some governors are like that. They would rather not want to be accused of not doing some projects, you know, and they want to spend as much as they want, so they would rather resort to borrowing, thereby postponing the evil day. Because when you look some of those states now, people are complaining they are not fixing our roads. They are not. The state is limited in terms of its capacity to even deliver the dividends of democracy. But when previous administrations were borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, and people are telling them, don't do it. The other day I was reading that even the Debt Management Office has now advised the federal government to limit borrowing.
For the states?
Yes. You know, if some of us were saying, no, not just state, even federal government.
So that they won't borrow our future?
Yes. If some of us are saying, they will say, oh, but we can see what they did. What they
once you can put infrastructure in place.
If there is greater efficiency in the way we run the finances of our country, we will block loopholes, and we'll be able to free cash that we can use for some of these projects. If we also adopt the PPP approach, it will also help. If corporate concerns, big companies can help deliver some infrastructure on a build, operate, and transfer basis, you don't have to spend money. So there are ways by which you can bypass this blind borrowing of money and then mortgaging the future of our people. I mean, there are ways by which you can bypass it. I talked about Angola building a refinery, a big refinery based on a build, operate, and transfer model. So people shouldn't give the impression that, oh, you cannot deliver infrastructure unless you resort to borrowing. I mean, of course, that is not a sensible thing to say. There are other ways by which you can bypass it.
Senator Ademola Adeleke, it's coming at a time that the country is facing financial challenges, the economy and everything is inheriting a state that is close to dire straits.
Well, it's lucky that he's going to make some cash in the vault of the state. But I think it also comes down to the character of politics in Nigeria. That why did he lose the election? So it means that governance is not just about delivering consumables. It's also about politics. Probably if he had managed the politics very well of the state, maybe he would have been able to return for another second term. I remember we had almost a similar situation in 2003 when Baba Kande was defeated. And no doubt, he was one of the best governors.
Me too, he didn't borrow.
He didn't borrow.
He was a
managed very well.
State
so
teachers.
Prudent, you know. But eventually people will still lose the election even when they have teamed to have performed very well. So I think in winning election, apart from the economy, the politics is also very important. So, but
At least
unfortunately,
Baba Kande built that secretariat.
he
800
did so
million, I
many things,
remember.
roles, you know, and he was so prudent. But eventually, you know, they voted him out. And I believe after voting,
More or less like history repeating
repeated itself. So, to win an election, the political aspect is very important, knowing how to manage the party so that you'll be able to stop dissenting opinions and bring the party together so that you can win subsequent election. I'm not very hopeful about the incoming governor, but maybe it's too early. Let's see how.
They're not very hopeful.
I'm not very hopeful, you know, given, you know, what I'm saying, you know, and what we seem to have known about, you know, him as a person. But maybe it's too early to rule out his performance. Let us give him maybe the next 2 months, 2 years.
He's already reversing some
Because
of the legacies.
the first, you have not even spent more than
administration.
2 weeks. You are reversing major policies. I don't think
legacies.
because those decisions.
Building speech.
Yes, it's already saying, look, we don't, and there's nothing like state of Osun. That is Osun state. You know, this thing is an emotive thing. People went to court, yes, indeed people went to court, and they won the case in court that Osun should not be referred to as state of Osun. But Oyetola refused to reverse that decision in spite of them losing in court. You know? Well, here is a new man, a new broom from a rival party. He has no business with you people. You are the ones fighting one another. He has come now and said, no, we don't want this. Then he's gone back to the moniker, what was it called? The what Osun State?
Slogan.
The slogan for Osun State. He's gone back to what it used to be when Oyinlola was governor. You know? That is a state of the living spring also. That's what it's gone back to. So when brothers quarrel, they leave crevices open for the enemy to move in.
That ego, as they paid the
elephant-sized ego
they paid the
of individuals who found it difficult to reconcile one another. Now, who has benefited from it?
They scattered
the dancing governor has benefited from it now. Now they have not seen anything. When it comes to playing the opposition, those who have been victims, they are the ones who can tell the story. People think that playing opposition is easy. Dumb people who cannot reason deeply, they think playing the opposition is easy. Now the shoe is on the other foot. They will see that it's not easy to play opposition. And next time, when you have issues amongst yourself, cast your elephant-sized egos aside. Ensure that you achieve unanimity so that you are in a strong position to win an election. When you quarrel amongst yourself, what do you get? They are still quarreling among themselves in Adama and other places now. Oh, this person should not be the candidate. That is the way of some people in the APC. And for some of those people, if they don't leave the party, and the party is not ready to punish people who work against his goals, his ambitions, then of course what we saw in Osun, what we saw in Adamawa, what we saw in Bauchi,
and what we've just seen in Rivers.
What we've seen in Rivers. We saw it in Rivers. In
2019, 2023 again.
Those things will continue to happen to the party because APC lacks the capacity to whip ego befuddled individuals in their party into line and get them to focus on the goal of the party.
Individuals are bigger than the party.
See themselves are bigger than the party. They are like the Cristiano Ronaldos of the APC, because Ronaldo, yes, is the most followed individual in the world on Instagram. So he already, even Man U does not have
the followership
on Instagram. So he already sees himself
so as bigger than the institution called
followed by more than 500 million people. He already sees himself as bigger than Manchester
close to
United.
$1 billion.
No bigger than Manchester United, and even saying that a coach who took a club from nowhere in the German league and turned the club to a Champions League playing team. A coach who coached Shaka 04, that Man U played against in the Champions League. He said he does not know him. He said Ratney was not a coach. Now he's saying that he does not respect Ten Hag. Oh, you don't respect Ten Hag? Okay, then leave our club. Then he's left the club.
Just terminated.
Nothing, no penal fee paid to him. Nothing. How to go because you instigated.
His this statue was even removed.
Yes. No. See, people should not be bigger than the entities that they are part of. You can't be bigger. I can't be bigger than TVC.
Yes.
Even in my most drunken state, I can't imagine that I will be bigger than
the brand's
than
TVC.
the brand. You cannot be bigger than the APC. You are a member of APC. You join the APC to further your political ambition. You can't be bigger than the party. And if you see yourself as bigger than the party, then the leadership of the party should stop being cowardly. They should wield the big stick, get such people out of the party. But if you don't do that, somebody did it in Ogun State, worked against his own party, that nothing happened. You know? Then we've seen it in Osun, barefaced. Nothing happened. You will still keep such people in the party. You will not do anything about them.
They are ready to do another one in 2019.
Yes, and you want the party to continue to grow. Even in Sokoto, they did it. This is the hallmark. This is the idiosyncrasy of these individuals. But history always teaches us that, look, learn lessons. But human beings find it difficult to learn from the lessons of history.
All right. Moving on now. Health, they say, is wealth. Just to enjoy quality health service, health workers are vital to achieving this. But in an already fast-emerging health sector, the Chief Medical Director of Nigeria's foremost tertiary health institution, the University College Hospital, UCH, Ibadan, Professor Abiodun Otegbayo, says at least 15 nurses, doctors, and pharmacists, among others, exit UCH on a weekly basis. As it stands, the hospital has lost 600 health workers in the last 1 year. There's fire on the mountain.
Well,
this sector is the most affected.
He said he receives an average of 15 letters in a week.
To quit?
Yes, that wants
15.
to quit UCH. And don't forget,
well-trained professionals.
yes, UCH is one of the, if not the oldest health institution in Nigeria. It's about 65 years old, that has produced some of the best medical doctors
So now,
all over the world. And from records, we understand there are about no fewer than 5,000 medical doctors of Nigerian origin in the US. I mean, UK. And in the US, we have about more than 3,000 who are trained in Nigeria who are now abroad. Well, I think the fact of the matter is that we are not surprised, because when you have had the best quality education, but you are working in an environment that does not allow you to come out with your best, there's no way you want to remain in that environment. Where you know that when you go to UK, you are not just going alone. You are giving visa to your family. You know, your children, if you are a man, your husband will follow you. If you are a woman, you know. So I think it's not a surprising thing, because the health sector in Nigeria has suffered a lot of affliction in the past 20 years. And it's not just the health sector alone. The best brains in almost every sector, you know, is leaving the country for greener pasture. They are not just going to Britain. They are going to Saudi Arabia, medical doctors from Nigeria. They are going to Oman, they are going to Qatar, they are going to Brazil. So everywhere there's opening all over the world. And if you look at the salary they pay them, you know, a nurse in UK, for instance, will earn, you know, close to about £4,000 in a month. So compare with what?
Over 3 million,
you know,
4 million naira.
And not to talk about the working environment where there's electricity 24 hours. You are exposed to the best donors all over the world. You are exposed to the best training, medical training, and conditions of service. So I think it's a reflection of the health situation, you know, in Nigeria. And
Jide, I think after 7 years, I think we're in a position to judge the administration, this administration, that they've not really paid deliberate attention to the health sector, stemming from the fact that the president even accessed his own Medicare abroad, and they've done everything. The First Lady came the other day and talked about the clinic in Aso Rock. 7 years is enough to be able to conclude that, look, the Muhammadu Buhari administration has not done what they are meant to do regarding this sector. You might not be able to save that after infrastructure, but when it comes to the health sector, it's a big failure.
Yes, and when you even imagine the way to know whether a government has prioritized something is to look at what is set aside in the budget for that sector. Look at what they set aside for health. It will show you clearly that we have no desire to improve the health sector because the funding is a disgrace. The level of funding of the sector is a disgrace. And that's why you see our people leaving Nigeria to receive Medicare abroad. I've told you about what No Ribadu once told me. It's unfortunate that I'm forced to actually say that he told me. Because people will think Jide has come again. Maybe he was not even saying the truth. No, Ribadu told me that his relations in Adamawa State were leaving Adamawa State to receive Medicare in neighboring Cameroon. What does that say to you?
Failure.
We are among the worst in the world when it comes to Medicare. Healthcare delivery, we are among the worst in the world. We are ranked in the same category as countries like Somalia. You know, if you look at the countries that we are on the same rank with, is the failed states. Failed states. Those are the states that we are ranked in the same category when it comes to healthcare delivery. If we want to improve healthcare, the level of funding has to improve. We must do our best to bring in the right equipment and all that, so that even this medical personnel will enjoy the privilege of using state-of-the-art, some of the best equipment as they are coming out, you know. So this is the thing. I was in Kogi, for example. I saw the reference hospital in Okene. Then I had, a day after my visit to the health facility, I had a conference call with the makers of the MRI machine. You know, there was an MRI machine.
I don't know when we were discussing that thing.
Yeah, you know, there was a video of me doing
the documentary,
a stand-up that somebody shared, you know, and it generated controversy and all that. I had a conference call with the makers of the machine, and they told me that that one in Kogi is the first in sub-Saharan Africa.
So if Kogi can do that,
that one in Kogi is the first in sub-Saharan Africa. Then they have it in Algeria. Of course, they have it in China, they have it in India. But for a state like Kogi to have that equipment, in terms of the upgrade, because that equipment was manufactured in November last year, but the brand date will reach 2022, you know, just like cars. When they manufacture cars, they first date it by a year. So it reads brand date 2022. So it's still new. It's the newest in terms of the upgrade that has been done. For a state to have that, it means that it is possible. Ayo, when eventually I show you what's in that hospital, you won't believe. I'm not, you know, I like to see things by myself.
That means the government makes deliberate efforts.
If the government is determined to do something, you will bring these things in.
Kogi is not richer than Nigeria.
No.
It's not even the richest states.
Of course not.
But because of the determination.
It's determination. And in that hospital now, they have capacity to manufacture their own oxygen. Do you know how many people died because we didn't have oxygen? During COVID. They can manufacture their own oxygen. Whereas all the states around Kogi State, none of them has that facility. So it's about the will. If we want to do it, we'll do it. We can keep some of these people here who are living this country. We can keep them here. There is a mission hospital here in Lagos that I was reading about. Suddenly, I mean, some of the staff, I think about 10 doctors just left. 10 doctors left the hospital in 1 month, just one hospital. Today, they are left with one doctor to take care of hundreds of patients. How do they do it? It's a situation, a simple situation that we are facing. We are talking about doctors. Wale was talking about doctors, but pharmacists are also leaving. Yeah. 6,000 pharmacists left Nigeria in the last 6 years to countries like Canada, USA, and the rest of them. Nurses too are leaving, especially female nurses. They are leaving. Nurses are leaving. They are well sought after in the UK, so they are leaving. So it's every category. Even lab scientists, they are leaving. It's not doctors alone. So some people don't see this as an emergency, as something that we should begin to address. But that's what it is. It will get to a point that we'll be in trouble if it continues like this. Nobody wants to stay here. There was a survey, they were asking them, the fresh doctors, so they just graduated from medical school, they were asking them. Nearly everybody said they didn't want to practice here.
When you look at, when they graduate from the schools, apparently they are tested and trusted, and these schools will graduate a lot of doctors and medical personnel. But when you look at the ratio of our population to the number of doctors, do you understand? It was lopsided before. Now what we're experiencing is total collapse in that sector. If this amount of people can...
I think from the records of medical institution, we have about 24,600 medical doctors, in a population of...
Sorry?
24,000 or 24,600 who are in the country now.
24,600 medical doctors?
Yes, in a population of about 200 million people. And the reality is that in some rural areas, that is those that are practicing, really practicing, because a lot of medical doctors are also not, maybe they are working, doing one thing.
Some of them are businessmen.
Yes. And most of the rural areas don't have, actually, a lot of rural areas don't have medical doctors. What they have is auxiliary nurses. Though I cannot even...
And people impersonating as doctors.
And the ASU strike, is having a lot of impact because these are the trainers of medical doctors. So when ASU is on strike for about 8 months, definitely the quality of doctors we are producing will be affected. So I think we are in a very... even the number. So we are in a very serious crisis. And I hope the federal government can come up with a policy that at least we discourage, because health is one of the most important, aspects of living, human life. So when you cannot produce and provide health care, the required manpower to handle the health care industry is really going to affect almost every aspect of our political economy. So I hope the government will see this as a challenge, not just for UCH, but as a national crisis that has to be addressed at the state level and also at the national level.
Today is no longer attractive for when you want to go into that sector. If people that are aspiring to be doctors, when they see that, look, ultimately I might have to find, it's next to nothing. Private hospitals is another thing we should pay attention to. These doctors are paid as ridiculous as 120,000, 130,000 after 7 years, of training in school, after so many, exams and everything, and you now go back to a private doctor center that will be paying you 120,000 naira per month, GD.
Yeah, the truth is, as long as the remuneration and welfare issues remain, there's no way that people will not want to live. They want to be abreast with the latest developments in Medicare, and those equipment are not here. The training, some of them want to go for trainings, those trainings are not available. So they know that when they jackpot, these things are readily available for them, and they will pay them good wages. That when you convert to
minimum 4,000 pounds.
Ekiti currency, you now
You have 4,000 pounds in Ekiti.
So who will not want to go
that's big money.
if you are paid that kind of money? Who will not want to go? So it's the health sector, the entire health sector is in dire straits. We have to admit it. People talk about doctors all the time because they are the ones that we see. They are like the face of the sector.
Yeah.
But it's not doctors alone.
You have pediatricians.
Others are
you
living.
Have, gynecologists.
Yes.
You have specialists.
Others are living. Others are living.
Opticians.
Look at that examination that they were going to do in Abuja, where a girl saw the prof that trained her in medical college. You know, I wanted to go. So you go to countries like Germany, their workforce is aging. They are looking for people. They are looking for people, whether from Africa or anywhere. They are looking for people, and they will pay them well. So this is why we need to do something about our sector, make even working here attractive to our people. It's only the tertiary medical centers that even doctors want to work in. We should make working even in rural areas, those primary health centers, we should make working there attractive to these fresh doctors as they come out of school. You know, so it's really, I just hope that the incoming administration will be decidedly focused.
Prioritize.
On the health sector. Prioritize the health sector. Prioritize education as well. Things will begin to change.
All right. In football, while the referee reserves the right to sack any player who goes against the laws governing the game, the coach, on the other hand, determines who gets to play and what role he plays. This may be true about the governorship candidates of the All Progressive Congress, APC, and the People's Democratic Party in Taraba State. In a recent court ruling has sparked lots of reactions from party chieftains in the states. The Court of Appeal upheld the primaries that produced Senator Emmanuel Bwacha of the APC and Colonel Agbu Kefas of the PDP in Taraba State. TVC News' Owolabi Adenusi filed in this report.
It appears it is not yet Uhuru for the APC and PDP in Taraba State. Mixed views have been expressed by the party chieftain over the court judgment. The Director General of the Campaign Committee of the gubernatorial candidate of the All Progressive Congress in the state, David Kente, told TVC News that his principal may end up at the Supreme Court if the party internal mechanism fail to address their grievances. He is supported by a chieftain of the party who insists that the battle is far from being over.
Our principal, Chief David Sabo Kente, is going to meet with his team of lawyers, study the case, and liaise with the party in order to arrive at the best decision for the party.
I might not say the appeal court has visionary defect, but at least two heads are better than one. So if the two courts, the Federal High Court in Jalingo, that is Taraba State, and the High Court in Abuja, have all affirmed that there was no conduct of primary election in Taraba State, that is APC primary election in Taraba State, then it means the two heads cannot all be wrong. But if an appeal court is keeping the case aside, we all believe that court is the eyes of the law. So we wouldn't know the focal length the appeal court used in disallowing two courts that have ruled in favor of the reality.
The PL to the ruling PDP in the state knows that the court judgment is a testament that PDP did the right thing during its primaries. It says the road is now clear for the candidate to start campaigning fully.
The People's Democratic Party Taraba State chapter is delighted to take this time to thank the judiciary most profoundly for her two great verdicts that have clearly vindicated the party in the state and her processes that threw up our governorship candidate.
The leadership of the two major political parties in Taraba are in the process of appealing to their great members to shed their swords.
We'll continue to experience this ahead of the 2023 election.
Of course.
What we've always been talking about, internal democracy within these political parties, and by the time they try to go take their case to the judiciary, to courts, and we'll start seeing this.
I was listening to that APC member who was saying that how could two courts, one in Abuja, the other one in Jalingo, affirm that primaries didn't take place in the real sense of the word. Governorship primaries didn't take place. And then appeal court will say that both of them are wrong. Of course, it's possible for appeal court to say both courts were wrong. But it underlines the need to look thoroughly at the facts of that matter. Because the appeal court can do whatever it likes. If the matter gets to Supreme Court, the music may change. And that is why, in my view, it is better for the party to find a way to resolve these issues instead of going allowing the court to decide. Because sometimes the court can decide and you discover that you don't even have a candidate in the election. If the final court takes a decision, you and I know that it is final. Nobody can do anything about it. Now, look at what happened in Zamfara. If Kabiru Marafa, Yari, Lawan, Dada Lawan, and the rest of them had agreed to resolve their differences, would APC have lost out totally as it did, despite winning all of the elections? But they were not allowed. They lost those opportunities. People that they had defeated were the ones who got to Senate, who got to House of Reps, and everywhere. At every turn, they lost out. So I'm looking at what is happening. In Taraba, they have been on this issue for some time. Senator Buacha for some time now, Senator Buacha and some people who contested against him, there have been out daggers drawn. It is important to have the matter resolved because at the end of the day, if one of the parties or two of the parties feel wronged, feel offended, of course they are going to work against the interest of the party. Definitely. You can win in court, but you may not win the election.
Yes.
If you do not reconcile with your fellow contestants. So it's still, no one can say exactly what will happen at the level of Supreme Court. But I just hope that when Supreme Court eventually, because the way it's looking, these guys will get to Supreme Court unless the party leaders are able to convince them to stop things at this stage.
And I hope they will be able to get accelerated hearing before the election. At the Supreme Court.
Look at Supreme Court said, for example, that in Ogun State that they should go and do fresh trial of the matter. Of course, that will take time. So, but the point that I'm making, the round up is, by the time Supreme Court takes its own decision, the Supreme Court is not obligated to toe the line of the appeal court. We've seen that happen so many times. So you may have emerged at the level of the appeal court, but
not yet to
it's not yet to Uhuru. And God help you if the Supreme Court then takes a decision so late in the day, the party may suffer for it because at that point there is no room for any remedy.
What internal democracy within these political parties, and as we head towards the election, is the court. The court now will now be deciding who will fly the flag of the party at the end of the day.
Well, I
since
think
they couldn't do it through
from what we have
diplomacy.
seen in Taraba, it shows that the two parties are not free from internal contradictions. Unfortunately, I don't think there is a third force that is strong enough to feast on the division, between the two parties. I think it's quite unfortunate that what we are
Some
seeing.
people say the Labour Party will feast.
I think that is very remote.
Mm.
Looking at precedents in Taraba State. I think it shows that the two parties don't have a very strong internal mechanism to resolve crisis. It's always better to use the party machinery to resolve any contradiction within the party. Because of what we have seen, like Babajide said, the court is going to look at technicalities. There's a likelihood that the ruling of the court may not necessarily produce the most popular candidate. Mm. So it's always better, for the political parties to come together as if they have elders. Because in those days, when you have UPN and MPN, we hardly had this kind of
it will move out of the party
leadership
the
takes
party will resolve it before
anybody that goes against that decision is on his own. So in this case, you find a situation where the kind of crisis will be lasting, lingering for years, and nothing happens at the end of the day. So I think it's quite unfortunate, and I hope that, because this is another opportunity for them to go to the round table now that the court has ruled again, because nobody is sure who will actually win at the Supreme Court, So, but if they don't resolve that crisis, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a big minus for the two parties. Unfortunately, like I said, there's no strong party, that can, that can come out to say, okay, we want to benefit from this division.
All right. Okay. Moving on now. It was Thomas Jefferson who said, nobody can acquire honor by doing what is wrong. Recently, in faraway Baju in Gambia, the 22nd Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Jaya, was honored with the award of the most outstanding Chief of Army Staff in National Defense, an award as the best in the land in Africa by Security Network Africa. Commander of the Army Infantry Corps, Major General Victor Ezeugu, was also honored for gallantry. These awards are in recognition of the Chief of Staff efforts in stamping out insurgency, especially with the use of MRAP military vehicles. We here say happy congratulations to these guys. Today you told me about this Major Nzogu, this MRAP.
General
Nzogu, sorry. I was thinking of that 1960 Nzogu. Major General Victor Nzogu. Nzogu.
Okay, I think there's a sort.
Okay, let's just show you this clip.
Thank you so much. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. An award for courage, bravery, commitment, and patriotism. Thank you, sir. Hello, sir. Before you take your seat, I would like to ask you a question. That right here, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm sure tonight is a big night. You are an amazing man, and we want to appreciate you. So, but before we do that, you're smiling very beautifully. Can you please express your heartfelt gratitude, please? Thank you, sir.
I want to give gratitude to Almighty God, who has been so nice to me in my career in the Nigerian Army. I want to thank all my mentors, those who prepared me for the job I'm doing for the Nigerian Army. One of them is the Chief of Naval Staff seated here, who bring me from the Arsenal Battalion. I want to thank you so much, sir, and your classmates. I want to thank each
as a voter, voter. Okay. As one of the voters.
I used to end this award. I want to thank the Chief of Army Staff, my boss, Lieutenant General Farouk Jaya, who appointed me the Commander Infantry Corps and held me in confidence. And I want to thank him for the honor he has given me to serve Nigeria in that capacity. I dedicate this award to all the officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army.
Wow, Jide.
Yes,
our soldiers doing us proud outside the shores of Nigeria.
Yes, General Ezeugu is already well respected among his colleagues, not just for gallantry, But whenever you talk about that MRAP, the Nigerian Army MRAP, named after him by the former Chief of Army Staff, Brate, you are bound to, your mind is bound to go to the former Charter Commander of Operation Lafi Adole, a man who has excelled everywhere, is given the opportunity. Today is the commander of the Nigerian Army Infantry Corps, and he's still making his mark. He represented the Nigerian forces at this event, and he brought the award for the best army on land to the Chief of Army Staff. And the Chief of Army Staff also got an award of his own for leadership. So I congratulate Lieutenant General Farouk Yaya and Major General Victor Izugu, because it's not easy to go to another country and receive recognition in this manner. We have many good armies in Africa. To be rated as the best, and for Izugu to be honored for gallantry is something that he should be really proud of.
Wale, when you look at the quality, and when you look at what we used to have then and back now, you see somehow the institution, they've been able to sustain that standard in spite of the way things are changing in the country. It's not all these generals that are exposed to the Sandals training that we used to have before, or the undersalts, all these big schools that you used to go for those trainings. They cancelled it. I don't know why, but then these generals are still holding their own.
Well, if you look at what I call the Nigerian gene, we are excellent in almost every field. Even we are talking about space technology, medicine, everywhere. So, and the Nigerian military is not different. If you look at some of the peace missions that Nigerians have participated since 1960s, in Congo, in Lebanon, in the UN peace mission in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, Nigerians always come out to be one of the best in performance, in everything, discipline and all that. So I'm not surprised that, he is getting this award. And if I say Nigeria is the best land force in Africa, I don't think I can doubt it. Because in Africa, maybe you are talking about Egypt, you are talking about South Africa, Tunisia, and I think Nigeria can compare favorably with all these countries. So what this thing has shown clearly that is that
when it comes to infantry.
Is that in terms of manpower, in terms of training, if Nigerians are given the opportunity to operate in a conducive environment, the best will come out of them. They will excel. Nigerians have produced no fewer than 100,000 peacekeepers, and they have participated in about 40 peacekeeping missions all over the world. And everywhere they go, they always get award. That shows that Nigerian soldiers are some of the best. But they cannot isolate themselves from the operating political economic environment, where there's corruption, where there's lack of recognition for good conduct, where the emoluments are not paid on time, just like our footballers. So Nigerian soldiers are wonderful, they are amazing, and all these awards have shown that with the right environment, we can actually be one of the best, not just in Africa, but also in the world.
So then let's look at the end of the day, our own war against insurgency. Yes. Now, we can't just sit here to just criticize them every time when they are not doing well. It seems they're getting some things right up north now.
Yes. When I went to Maiduguri in December last year, I reported progress.
Yes.
No one...
Christmas.
Yes, last Christmas. I spent Christmas in Maiduguri. No one can say that, Jide lied. There's no progress. When was the last time you heard that a Nigerian army base in Borno was overrun? But they used to do that now. Even if the army will sometimes not admit it, or rarely will admit it. But we knew it was happening, and we were losing troops.
Losing
In
equipment.
fact, the whole idea of setting up super camps was to make it difficult for those
to overrun,
yes, because the idea of super camp was to take equipment from these little bases here and there, concentrate them in one big camp.
Still, they were still
some of those super camps were overrun. That's a fact. But today, that sort of thing is not happening. Whether it's Dikwa or no, nobody has gone to any Nigerian Army base, in about a year now to say you have overrun them in the northeast. No, it's not happening. They can kill them, they can kill soldiers through ambushes here and there. No one can stop that. That will happen in anywhere you're involved in unconventional warfare like this. Ambushes will be common because troops need to move around either for admin reasons or even for
supplies.
For logistics and all that, to restock your supply. You must move around. And in the process, they can attack you. But even in the Lake Chad, the Tumbus, the islands of Lake Chad, the Tucanos have dealt so severely with these people.
Super Tucanos.
That's what I'm telling you.
We've been running AY
to move, they were saying, you were shouting about these Tucanos. What the Tucanos have done, Ayo, to even move around the way they used to move around is extremely difficult. Because they know
if you're not sure,
they will be sighted. We have a reconnaissance aircraft moving around. Once they sight them, they will call for bombers. And bombers will exterminate them. The good thing about the Tucano is the precision strikes. You are sure that this one will not go and kill innocent people. Once it takes aim at the object, the accuracy is guaranteed. And those guys are in trouble. And it doesn't need to get very close to take out the enemy. So you are able to still protect the life of the pilots and the rest of them. So we are doing very well in the Northeast. I'm proud of the successes that we are recording there. I used to criticize them because I love my country. I wanted them to win. And I'm happy that a good number of these soldiers, they realized that what I was doing was right. In fact, when we met the other day on the Lagos Island, 81 Division, they were saying that some of the things that you say helps us to get better. But those who abuse you for criticizing the army, they do not realize that you are doing it for the good of everyone.
Just take a look at this MRAP now.
This is actually what is it called?
APC?
APC.
Okay.
A Chinese-built APC.
Okay. Oh, it's a Chinese-built APC,
Yes.
not our MRAP.
No, this is not MRAP.
But this equipment will go a long way.
This is Tucano.
This is
the president bought equipment for the army.
And we have like 12 of these
unprecedented numbers. Yeah. We have a lot now. And it will help the army even when peace is finally restored in that area. At least it will be part of our inventory in future. We know that we have this thing. So good news from that side. It's in the northwest and north central that we need to deal decisively with the bandits. But with Boko Haram and ISWAP, God knows that we've made tremendous progress.
At the end of the day, the money that has been invested into this sector will not go in vain.
No, never in vain. It's not too. There's nothing to invest in security that is too much, because if people are not secured, you cannot talk about any economic development. So there's no doubt that in the past 7 years, this present regime has invested so much, in terms of equipment, and the capacity building of the Nigerian security armed forces. Like Babajide said, they always be there and useful, either in terms of external aggression or internal uprising.
Like when we acquired this fighter jet from Pakistan, people say, do we really need a fighter jet? What we need are bombers and all that. Yes, the enemy does not threaten us aerially. Issues of dogfights between two fighter jets may not happen. But that is now. No one knows what will happen in future. So even if you are selling an F-16 to me,
yes,
and I know that, am I going to be involved in dogfights?
Look at yourself.
But one day it may happen. You may be facing a very capable army that has fighter bombers, that have fighter jets and all that. So you should still be useful.
All right. Okay, we quickly take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll be right back after this time out. Please stay with us.
Join me, Precious Amayo, as I bring you news from the epicenter, where it happens and when it happens, staying on top of every breaking story, minute by minute, right at the hour where the city gets busy and just before it sleeps. We're live from every angle with objective insight and analysis. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Every 1 hour, 86 migrants enter Lagos State. It is a beehive of activities. Every second counts in this city that never goes to sleep. There is always something to talk about. We go the extra mile to tell the story of Africa's 5th largest economy. We track happenings on land, on waterways, and in the air. We go against all odds to ensure that you are heard.
25% of the entire spread of Lagos is covered with water.
I'm Adedoja Salamadeni. I live in Lagos.
Yes, if you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We spend extra time to bring to you news and current affairs of national importance, and I still have Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Wale Adeoye in the house with me. After devastating floods that ravaged many states of the Federation, leaving hundreds of Nigerians homeless, victims of the crisis who sought refuge in schools and other temporary places, are beginning to return to damaged and endangered homes. Many of the victims who began to return as the water recedes met their houses with cracked walls, weakened structure, collapsed fences and walls, coupled with an environment infested with dangerous reptiles and mosquitoes, exposing them to major health crisis. Some of the affected states are Taraba, Jigawa, Adamawa, Benue, Rivers, and Bayelsa states. Jide, we thank God. It was a very troubling, trying time for the people in this area. And when we started seeing the signs that the water, was subsiding, receding, and we just pray that government will help in the process of reintegrating them and rehabilitating them, because what we've described here, the structure, most of this structure, the integrity will be
already compromised.
Yes. Because when you have over 20 days that your building was submerged.
You know, in Lokoja, I was in Lokoja last week. You see some roofs. Those roofs covered by sand. These were houses that were completely submerged. You know? Along Ganaja Road, that area submerged completely. Houses are literally buried by the water. But now everything is dried up, from the rooftop, covered. But now what you see just caked up earth with the earth literally broken up,
Okay. As the water
is receding, it has receded in so many of these areas. Even the Kotonkarfi, for example, around the place where you have the Muritala Bridge, that very, very important Muritala Bridge.
This community.
On the right side, you still have some water. But generally, it has receded and people can move around freely. Now, the implication of this is that even for landlords who had houses in those areas, the value of their houses has declined, because you know that in this area is almost a yearly thing for it to be flooded. You rather look for somewhere else. And
don't wait for this season.
They won't be able to attract enough in terms of what people pay as rent. So it's a good thing that we are, the water has receded, the floods have receded, but government also has to look at those buildings and ensure that people don't park into buildings whose structures have been compromised by months of being covered up in water.
Wale? This situation, I think it's quite pathetic, and government will need to come to their rescue, and even people will be discouraged. And I'm sure a lot of people would have even deserted these communities.
Unfortunately, so many lives were also lost. I think in Nigeria we lost close to 600 people, including women and children. For me, what is important is that it has happened. What are we going to do to prevent future occurrence? It means we must be able to think at the regional and national levels of immediate solutions, medium-term solutions, and long-term solutions. I don't see that happening now, because from this month to around April next year or May, it's a window of opportunity for us to take certain decisions, even though they may not be permanent solutions, but at least that can mitigate against future occurrences. Because with climate change all over the world, you notice that this flooding was not just in Nigeria, in Pakistan, in the US, Asia, everywhere. So it means that we need to begin to think of long-term solutions. I would have expected that the affected states will even call a kind of regional summit, where both of them will share, ideas together, because some of these states are very close to each other. It means there is a common problem that is affecting them. I'm expecting the state to have a kind of meeting, come out with certain resolutions, and then the states to have joint meetings. What can we do together to ensure that this thing does not happen again in 2023? Even if it means approaching international bodies like the World Bank, the federal government, and all that. If it's about building, dam that can capture some of this flood temporarily or permanently, the states can come together to come with a project that says, okay, let us, even if it's going to be about building the dam in the next 5 years. But I've not seen that happening. Look at Bayelsa, that even homes of very prominent government officials were submerged in flood. The airport and everything. I've not seen a kind of response, even in terms of, a policy statement that will show that this will not happen again. So I think we should not just be looking at federal government alone. The state that has concern should also come out with, short-term, medium-term, and long-term policies so that this kind of thing will not happen, in the nearest future.
Do some states, like Delta State, open IDPs for these people? And we know that it's very difficult to sustain this kind of lifestyle. It would have altered their regular work with their farms and everything. And are you not... don't you feel that even agriculture will be affected from next year?
Yes, this flooding has come with some serious consequences. I don't think, even by ESA, I don't think students are allowed to return to school, because Bayelsa is Nigeria's gateway to the Atlantic. So Bayelsa was thoroughly affected.
The water went into cemetery.
It assumed corpses. It assumed corpses. It really brought pains upon our people. When I went to Delta State about 3 weeks ago or so, we were airborne. I was looking at areas devastated by flooding. In fact, all you can do is pity those people, because you see houses while overhead, you are looking down, you see houses already submerged. So I wonder, how do people survive this kind of experience? Now, people are forced to harvest their crops before due time.
Okay,
because of the fact that the flood washed away their farmlands, rice farms destroyed, submerged. So putting even the livelihoods of people working those rice farms at stake. It's already been predicted that next year, even the World Bank has told us that next year will be tough in terms of
let's
food
speak Adams.
security.
Adams is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Adams.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I'm graduating with another.
Thank you, Adam.
I'm in respect of this issue. I want to advise the government, please, sir.
Struggling to hear Adams. I think the connection is not good. Just try and call us back later. We'll still have time to take your calls.
So it will be tough for our people next year because people could not farm. I mean, people could not. People lost their farmlands to flooding, and it came close to harvest time. That is what even makes it extremely painful because it leaves no room for recovery. If it had happened earlier, with at least you can say you are going back to plant fresh crops and all that, but it left our people without that opportunity, and it's extremely painful. But what are the remedial steps that we can take? Some states are building embankments and all that. Those embankments can only protect small areas. How about the hinterland, the villages? How many embankments can you build in such places? The World Bank is assisting Nigeria, but I think we need a lot more help before we can protect our people better. This will continue. This is a result of global warming, irregular rainfall and all that. Today, we were beaten by the rain. And it was very heavy. Coming into the studio, it was even wet. So late in December, we are not supposed to be seeing that volume of rainfall. But that is the price that we pay for the damage that we have done to the environment.
And some people will even suffer epidemic. There will be kind of epidemic outbreak as a result of this.
A lot of epidemic that are not even being reported. But we need.
So reptiles are on the prowl.
Yeah, we need a roadmap, to address this issue, because it's an ongoing problem. And like Babajide said, it's going to get worse. So what are we really doing? As corporate, at the level of corporate, at the level of the states, local governments, even with tree planting campaign, to a large extent, it's going to stop flooding. But it seems we are just waiting for another disaster to happen. I don't think the state governments are doing enough.
Nigeria generally has not responded
very well
in a good way. We were warned that this thing will happen, but everyone just kept on playing politics.
Because the president has given them till the end of January to release a paper on this.
Okay. Well, I just hope that next time we'll be better prepared.
The currency of any nation is as strong as the viability of its manufacturing and exports. But when local production is either low or infiltrated by other external interests, then the growth is inimical. Governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, says his administration will collaborate with the National Assembly and the Nigerian Customs Service to end the importation of adulterated adire fabrics into the country. The governor, who expressed worry over high volume of adulterated adire fabrics by foreigners, which has caused a monumental loss to local producers of the fabric, urged the National Assembly and other government agencies to adopt the adire as an official attire for the national event in the country. The governor said the state will soon embark on end the adire
stealing.
To end the adire stealing. Jine, I don't know. Why will adire that we know that is peculiar to Abeokuta, we know that it's peculiar to Ogun State, that has been there for years, why will Chinese people still want to bring this adulterated version for what we manufacture locally here? That what has generated employment to our people here?
That is what capitalism can do. And I still believe that there's a level of, no matter how much you want to open up as a country, there's a level of protectionism that must take place. We can't leave our country so wide open to all comers who will bring in just any products, just any product. We can't continue like that. We see foreigners even getting involved in little retail businesses in our country.
These people want to bring in jollof rice. They want to bring in cooked soup.
Egusi soup. They've already cooked egusi. In some of the department stores in this country, in this Lagos, you see all these things. They're bringing in palm oil already, processed palm oil. They're selling it to us. They take ogbono. They now do ogbono, send ogbono to us. People are endangering their lives. You know, food processed over there, because we are lazy. We just focus on work and work and work. We want to get home and simply be ready to eat. We are waiting for the Chinese. Chinese will do gari for you. Chinese will prepare ogbono for you and send it back here. Chinese will prepare egusi and send it back here.
And what are Naira to be strong?
It cannot. What we are allowing is unpardonable. That's why I'm saying, at least even America, the bastion of capitalism, there's still a level of protectionism that they allow to take place. Because you must protect
something you are known for,
local producers. You must protect them. If you don't protect your steel manufacturers, for example, you allow others to just bring in steel. How are you going to make money? This was an issue for George W. Bush when he was president. You know? And Trump too. So you have to protect your people. What the governor of Ogun State has said, I agree with him. We can't allow the Chinese to come and destroy the means of livelihood of our people. In any case, they are not even going to do it well. But they can come in and flood our country with cheap textiles. They are able, labor is very cheap over there. They can mass produce. They have the equipment to mass produce. So, but there's a price to pay for all of this. There's a price to pay. We cannot outsource production of adire to the Chinese.
At all.
It's the heritage of our people. And if we do not address this problem, many of the women making this beautiful adires, they'll be kicked out of business. They'll be kicked out of business by these Chinese people. We want to protect our people.
How would these people want to substitute what elderly women do in Ogun State here?
I think this is a very, very serious issue, because adire production is several centuries old in Yoruba textile technology history. It's just that Abeokuta happens to be the one that has been sustaining it. Even when you go to Yoruba areas of Kwara, Kogi, you see that people die, old men, it was part of their tradition. And this is part of indigenous technology that every country strives to protect, because it's a source of jobs for millions of people. And the indigenous will also have is their traditional knowledge. They have the patent right.
Yes.
That if you want to take it away, you need to pay them. You cannot go to China and just go to a remote village and take one technology and then take it away like that. Nobody, in fact, you'll be arrested and jailed. Support. If you go to Shodeke Street in Abeokuta, where they produce adire, different types, alabere, different types of adire, there is no institutional support over the years. Adire will have been a huge industry that will be able to employ millions of people. And when we are talking about institutional support, it's not enough for the government to be saying we are going to stop the importation. There are international rules, just like Babangida has said, World Trade Organization, which is even being led by Nigeria now. They have rules on fair and trade rules. They have the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, that any country that violates it, there are sanctions. So if our traditional technology is being taken away by either China or any Asian country, we have the right to approach the WTO and ensure that that country is brought to book So I think we need to do enough. I mean, need to do a lot. It's not only in Nigeria that people use adire now. If you go to Ghana, if you go to South Africa, Latin America, you know, people are.
I've even seen more and more.
There are people
Americans
that live. What they live on is just to export adire.
They sustained the way it has struggled.
Yeah. So if you are not careful, the headquarters of adire will change. We leave Nigeria and it's going to be in Hong Kong. So I think the government should, it should do a lot to ensure that the indigenous technology of these old people.
Problem.
Yeah.
They are the ones damaging our environment by illegally mining gold and all that. Even Tatalite, the governor of Taraba was telling me that they arrested a Chinese that was mining Tatalite, lithium, all over illegally. And they seem to have a way.
Legally too.
You come into our country, bribe our security operatives and ensure that you cannot do anything to them. In fact, they even use dogs.
There is a particular tree, they call it Ariria tree. They use it to construct racetrack. It's in Kwara, Kogi, Ekiti, and Ogun. If you go there, and Ondo State, these Chinese go there, take over the whole thing, take it back to their country. So we shouldn't allow this to happen. We need to do something. It's the intellectual property right of indigenous people, and we must protect it from exploitation by any foreign interest.
They are felling our trees with reckless abandon and taking them beyond the shores of our country.
The land and everything, there's a way it damages the land.
Yeah.
No, because of look at in Osun State, for example, you have to dig and dig and dig before you can find gold. They are damaging the area, creating artificial lakes, and polluting the environment. And nobody seems to check the activities. Now they've gone into Adira again. They won't mind pauperizing our people, destroying what our people had relied on as their own heritage for hundreds of years. They won't mind destroying it, all because they just want to make money. And whatever they bring into our country, look at, it's usually, the product is usually cheap. You see lace now. Well, lace used to be very expensive, but you see some lace that these Chinese bring into our country, very substandard. Some you wash it once, and then the dye stuff will run. So it's just terrible. I think these are I'm kind of really worried about the incursion of the Chinese into this, because they are not going to add value. They will make it extremely cheap, and the quality will never match what our people used to do.
All right. It appears that petrol scarcity, also known as premium motor spirits, may linger longer than we anticipated. The scourge, which is now spreading across Ogun and Ekiti states, among others, including Lagos and Abuja, has caused oil marketers to worry about the sustenance of the subsidy regime by the federal government. Reacting to the lingering scarcity, the National Public Relations Officer of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Chief Ukadike Chinedu, said the situation was due to various factors, including reduced purchasing power of oil dealers due to a 163 naira per liter hike in the cost of renting daughter vessel to move from products from mother vessel, and drop in petrol supply by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the inability to access foreign exchange at the official rates, and continued subsidy on PMS, among others. It's biting harder in Lagos now. And
yes.
when this is started,
why it's in Abuja, buying petrol from black marketers is already like a way of life.
It's a permanent feature.
In fact, when
city
you go to
centers,
places,
you see people carrying kegs.
You go to the suburbs of Abuja, some of the satellite towns, you see women are even the ones selling it. You know? Just getting outside of Karu, for example, in Abuja, you see women. They are the ones who line the street selling petrol in jerry cans. Women in the Karu area. in Lagos, these black marketers are not common. So there are times when you are even stuck. Maybe you thought you could find a filling station that will be selling petrol.
You're running very low.
You are running low.
Extremely low.
You just discover that
anytime from now,
nobody is selling petrol. Yesterday I drove from Allen to Ekiti. There was not a single filling station selling petrol. And I was running low. So, like, what is going on? At that point,
black market,
if I saw black market, nobody would tell me before I call them, and I will ask, what's your price? I'll name your price, I will buy. In Abuja, you see them everywhere. In Lagos, it's difficult to see a black marketer, which is what makes it even all the more painful to our people. The black marketers, they are patronized largely by bus drivers. It's their own daily work. They have to put their buses on the road and make money. And for that reason, they must find a way to get petrol by all means possible. Now, what they are saying, they are saying 163% hike in the cost of renting daughter vessels. Now, these daughter vessels are the vessels that they use to put the product. When they are offloading from the big vessels, the tankers that bring in petrol from outside our country, the smaller vessels like daughter vessels are the ones that they discharge the product into before selling, before then going to tank farms to discharge them. So they're saying now that, and I suspect it's because of the slide in the value of our currency, that the cost of renting that daughter vessel has gone up by 163%. Now the point is, who then bears the brunt? Because you have not, in the recent pricing template that you came up with, you didn't include this.
All this.
So it means that the marketer has to bear the brunt. So these people continue to bear the brunt, and they are finding it difficult to survive. The cost of now do their job, they also need some foreign exchange. And to get foreign exchange from official channels is extremely difficult. So all of these extra costs that are coming into making petrol accessible for our people is what is driving marketers wild. They don't know who will pay us for this. So even at the current price, it is not sustainable for them. It is not competitive for these people. This is not the kind of pricing that they are encouraged to continue to do the business with. Some marketers are ready to sell, but they want to make sure that they add some money. If you see a filling station selling where they are selling petrol and there are not many people, it is because they have. There was one today that was selling for 230 naira per liter. I won't mention where. Of course, the queue was not long there. It's you that you can afford that you move in and buy 230 per liter, 230 per liter.
230 per liter.
Yes. So many people feel, this is too high.
Some
now,
people in Lagos,
some get it, some get it from depot owners at 205 naira per liter, which is already above the pump price. You see, so how do they make their money if they do not?
It's not realistic again.
The big problem also is that even supply has gone down. NNPC had not admitted this to us. But talk to anybody among these marketers, they will tell you that supply has gone down. Many depot owners don't have petrol. I've been saying it before that, look, you can only hoard in a season of inadequacy. If everybody has it, you will ask, how can you hoard? Even if people decide on you that you want to hoard, you find others who start opening one by one because you have to survive. But you can hoard when there is scarcity. I've seen people that some filling stations, they discharge fuel, but they refuse to sell. Everybody is waiting, trying to see how much are we going to sell it next week. How much are we, so they don't want to. It's just like the dollar thing. People are just being patient. Let us see. But definitely there is crisis in the sector, and it is a massive shame, big shame, that one of the 7 biggest producers of crude oil in the world will be facing this kind of problem.
Challenge.
I mean, it's just terrible.
Why ultimately, people will even be forced to buy it as much as 300 naira if you make it available, because they are tired. People are just so frustrated, spending man hours in filling stations.
I think we are dealing with a recurrent problem that has lasted for decades, and we seem not to have a solution. Just like Babajide said, the cost increased from to higher what they call daughter vessel to mother vessel. The smaller one, then to the bigger one. Then from mother vessel to the PDOs in Warri, Port Harcourt, and Lagos. It has gone up from $38,000 to around $108,000 to $111,000. And they have to pay in dollars. That's one excuse they are giving to us. But the other problem also is the hike in the landing cost of per liter, which is not about 450 naira. But in all, I'm happy that the NNPC was able to agree that, look, long-term solution is for us to produce, to refine what to produce here. I mean, it's so funny that since 1999, we can't resolve this problem of having our own refinery. Things that were even built years back, at a point, we had a refinery in Warri, had one in Kaduna, had one in the Port Harcourt. So if the government could build these refineries in those years, how come that since 1999, that we are a democratic government, we cannot just build one refinery? And also there's a problem of corruption that we seem not to be addressing. If you look at the various committees set up by the House of Rep, the one that was supposed to prove oil subsidy between 2009 to 2011, and the recent one,
I've not seen the light of day.
the first one came out with reports talking about corruption. This last committee said that there are 23 companies that they could not even trace, the owners of this company, the roots of this company. So the problem of corruption, as long as we have corruption in the system, we just keep on passing the ball from one table to the other. If you don't address the problem of corruption, even when you continue to subsidize petroleum products, we are not going to go anywhere. And it's so unfortunate that for a government that is going to have an election next year, I don't think we should allow this kind of thing to linger. I hope they will be able to find a solution before Christmas, that people are, compelled by tradition to travel. And if the price, you now discover that you need to pay about 300 increase in fare to your village for Christmas, and you need to go for Christmas. So you can imagine the impact that will have on the majority of Nigerians. It's a lingering problem that we have inherited since 2003. But I think that it's time we need to be looking for a permanent solution to build refineries so that we can refine those products here. For me, I think that is the long-term solution we should begin to think about. And I'm happy with the Dangote refinery. I believe that by the time it comes up, things will begin to look better.
I'm worried for our country and our capacity to maintain public infrastructure. The oldest operating refinery in the world was opened for business on 11th December 1901. They are still using it. It's in India. They are still using it.
This is not a function of age.
Yes. 1901 is maintenance. When were refineries built?
More than 100 years.
Even the Cardinal refinery that was built in 1980, we are still grappling with it. Our most modern refinery is the one in Warri. We are grappling with it. What's going on? People are just suffering. Why should God bless us so much with petrol, with gas, yet we continue to struggle, we continue to suffer? Because you even ask, is it a cause? Is petrol a cause?
I'm telling you.
On us as a people?
I'm telling you.
Because what we should take seriously, because petrol has come, agriculture, for example, we neglected agriculture for so long. Everybody was looking for cheap money.
You know, say what has oil done for these people?
I mean, it's unfortunate. There's no reason in the world for us to be going through fuel scarcity.
Yeah.
Countries that do not produce 1 liter of crude oil, they don't have this problem.
At all.
Countries that rely on other countries for petrol, they don't have the problem that we have. We have refineries. We allow those refineries to be decrepit. They are literally dead. We are wasting money on them. They are not refining a drop of petrol. Now we are forced to rely on importation. And even that, we have not managed that one very well. The oil sector is, when you are talking about the oil sector, what comes to people's mind is the mind-boggling corruption that takes place there.
What you are importing, you can't even
not the value,
not
the value that they add to the lives of Nigerians. We can't even agree on how much we are consuming.
Yeah.
We can't. You read what the Customs Controller General said the other day, that what is going on? That this thing is not true. So are you saying that the person who filled his tank today, the next day is filling the tank of the same car? I mean, the man said, no, this is not believable. If you are saying that, the level of smuggling is so huge, and so number of tankers, he said, which road are those tankers passing through? You can't tell me that even smuggling is at that level. It's just an opportunity to just steal money. It's unfortunate. This has to be investigated thoroughly for us to even come out. Look, I'm convinced that even the subsidy bill, it is still possible to even sustain subsidy up to a point. If it is actually what we are consuming that they are telling us we are consuming.
Group of people.
That is the thing. Because look at the subsidy bill during the Jonathan years and compare to what it is now. The difference is like night and day. If it is at a manageable level, perhaps we can even still sustain the subsidy regime for some time. Because let's face it, if petrol goes to almost 400 naira per liter for our people, given the current energy levels that we find ourselves, where we want to sleep, there's no light and all that, our people will be in serious trouble. Transportation costs,
honestly,
everything will go up. And we must move around. Whether we like it or not, we must move around. So I just hope that even they are warning that this thing will extend to January does not, because the pain is already unbearable at this stage.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope something should be done very honestly, swiftly, and decisively. You know, it's bad news for us to hear that it's going to last till January. You know, I hope they will do something before then.
All right, and finally, it is without a doubt or a call for oratory that Nigeria's economy is on fast free fall. As such, any further policy that will bite harder the lives of Nigerians will not be accepted. The carbonated soft drinks and subsector of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has rejected the proposed 20% tax increase on an already 10% tax per liter on non-alcoholic drinks. According to MAN, the proposed tax will kill the carbonated soft drinks subsector. In a counter-argument, the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed Page, says the policy is to discourage excessive consumption of sugar in beverages, which contributes to diabetes, obesity, as well as increase in revenue generation. Meanwhile, the financial experts are predicting an additional decline in revenue to minus 25% by December 2022 if the policy is not reviewed. Jide, let's look at the argument put up by the federal government now. They are looking for what is not going to help our health in any way, so to discourage it. They decided, if you like sugar, those things you like, that okay, it's not good for your health, we're going to discourage you from taking it by, increasing the tax on it.
I was reading somewhere that Nigeria ranks 4th in the consumption of soft drinks in the world. We are number 4 in the world when it comes to consumption of soft drinks. Yes. Although our population plays a part in in all of these numbers. There's no way
you can compare us to Britain now.
There's no way
or
you
South
have
Africa,
this kind of huge population.
Or Ghana or Togo. Yes.
That definitely when it comes
our population.
When it comes to this kind of surveys, you just see that Nigeria is up there because our population alone, So the government needs the money that all the money that it can make, and they believe that if they can introduce that tax, that they are going to make more money. But every tax has consequences, because the more the producers of these carbonated drinks increase price, the lower their sales volume will go. There's no way, if you were able to, it's just, if this was being sold at 10 naira before, you suddenly jack the price up to 20 naira. You've already outstripped some people of the purchasing power for this.
Not everybody will be able to afford it.
Yes. So those who will not be able to afford it, they will go off it, they will snub it. That will affect what the producers earn at the end of the day. And the soft drink market, they said in 2016, they made 713 billion. The soft drink subsector of the
713 billion.
Yes, 713 billion dollars. I mean, $713.6 million in 2016. $713.6 million. Then it rose to $1.4 billion in 2021. And Nigerians consumed 1.6 billion liters of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Sprite, and Fanta in the same year, that year. So the volume of consumption rose to 1.6 billion liters. That's cumulatively Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Sprite, Biggie, Fanta, and the rest of them. So their own warning is that introducing duty will lead to a drop in sales. For a long time, you saw that they didn't want to increase price. What they did was to go and reduce the size of their bottles, so that the people can still be able to afford it. You find that it's a matter, I like to drink Coke, but if suddenly the price is beyond my capacity, then you will go off it. They wanted to avoid that. Instead of they now increase the size of the bottle so that you can still feed your hunger for Coke within your resources. So that's what they are saying. So out in the Nigerian manufacturing subsector, 38% of total manufacturing is the manufacture of carbonated drinks, like Coca-Cola, like the rest of them. So they also account for 22.5% of manufacturing jobs in our country. So if that sector is not doing well,
if anything, to what happens?
they generate 1.5 million jobs. So if something untoward happens in that sector, it will have a ripple effect on the entire manufacturing sector in our country. And that's why they are saying, look, you come up with this, you want to make money, but this will come at a heavy cost.
Okay, Wale, let's look at this industry, and when you look at the decline and when you look at what is happening, at the end of the day, if government, if they take this decision, this might lead to another round of inflation?
Well, I think this sector is one of the most important sectors, in our economy. Man says it contributes about 15% to the GDP of the country, and with about 1.5 million direct and indirect workers linked to these companies. And if you go around the street corners, you see one person selling coke. That's what he lives on.
You see women.
You see women, see children. You see even hawkers. That's what they rely on. Some of them are graduates, so doing holiday job. That's what they. So it's really going to affect a lot of, well, the argument of the government in terms of, diabetes and all that. I think the government should also be honest to admit that it wants to raise funds, which is legitimate. I'm not against, because knowing how much we pay to service debt, the government needs to be creative on how to raise more funds to finance the budget and all that. But my worry is that when you increase 10 naira per liter, and it comes like a shock, how are they going to, what is the kind of shock absorber that we, expect these companies to use to absorb this kind of a shock? Because in other countries, we'll have seen a kind of gradual increase. Maybe over a period of 6 months, there will have been a kind of discussion. Maybe we'll have started in January. And then you can start with 1 naira, 2 naira. Maybe by now we'll have even had that kind of 10 naira achieved. But when you just bring it once, I think the impact is going to be so great on the people. And this thing is also going to affect children. Because that's their most valuable. The best thing you can do for a child is to buy him a bottle of stored drink. If you made his day. So that means that our children will be denied this kind of. So the consequences, juices, chocolate, and so the consequences may now find a situation where there will be more imported soft drinks, either smuggled directly or indirectly, and then there will be adulterated products. Bad people, businessmen will capture in on this to go and produce and sell at reduced because of weak institution that we have.
Okay, and joining us now via Zoom to shed more light on this is a lawyer and a manager with PwC Nigeria, Emmanuel Akpeme. Thank you for joining us, Emmanuel. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon, Emmanuel.
Emmanuel. Emmanuel, can you hear me? Okay, now our producers are trying to. Yes, Emmanuel can hear now.
Thank you for joining us, Emmanuel.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Thank you so much
Emmanuel.
for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Help us make sense of this tax.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me, please?
You can hear. So help us make sense of this tax that government has introduced and the impact it will have on the carbonated drink subsector.
Yes.
More important things, other small that because there will have been a kind of discussion.
Okay, we are waiting for.
Please, can you hear me, please?
Emmanuel. So,
Emmanuel, we asked you a question. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, then the question is, help us make sense of this new tax that government has introduced and the kind of impact, it will have on the carbonated drinks subsector of our manufacturing sector.
Okay, thank you very much, Babajide. So this particular excise duty that was introduced, it was, by way of a background, right? It was introduced by the Finance Act 2021. And by virtue of Section 17 of that particular Finance Act, the excise duty on non-alcoholic, carbonated, and sweetened beverages was introduced. And from that particular provision, it imposes a 10 naira per liter excise duty on non-alcoholic, carbonated, and sweetened beverages. Now, this has been since the inception of the Finance Act 2021. However, there have been no sort of guidelines or regulations with respect to how that particular provision will be implemented. So that is why recently the Minister of Finance had to issue this current guideline, which is the excise duty, non-alcoholic, carbonated, and sweetened beverages regulations 2022. This particular regulation has a commencement date of 12 September 2022, and it's just about implementing that particular provisions of the Finance Act. Now, the truth of the matter is this: the federal government seeks to raise revenue for the country. If you look at the current budget for 2023, you see the deficit, the revenue deficit there. So these are just ways that the government wants to really vamp up or get its revenue for the forthcoming year. However, the issue is about its timing and also how it seeks to raise this particular revenue, and particularly on this particular excise duty. The government has come up to give us two reasons. And as we have also mentioned in the course of our discussion and conversation, it mentioned health reason to check diabetes and the likes, right? Health-related issues. Now, that is a form of sin tax. That is when a tax is imposed to discourage the citizens from participating or engaging in particular kind of behavior. For example, smoking, and in this case now, a consumption of beverages. Now, the issue is, do Nigeria have a diabetic problem, a health issue? Or in another way, do we have a sugar issue? Because if you look at it from data, WHO has come up to say that on an average per annum, you are to consume 9.1 kilogram of sugar per annum. And from data, Nigeria has only a consumption rate of 8 kilogram per annum. This is less than the recommended consumption by the World Health Organization. If you compare this with some other jurisdictions like the UK, for example, has a 30 kilogram consumption per annum, and while the United States of America has about 46 kilogram consumption of sugar per annum. And if you look at it, that in a way makes it reasonable for them to have such excise duty on carbonated drinks and non-alcoholic or sweetened beverages. But in Nigeria, we are yet to even get to the average consumption by WHO, and we are giving it as the basis for taxing that particular product to reduce sugar. So I think there's a need to really make use of data when we are bringing some of this or make some of this justification. Another point I would want to mention is that in some of these advanced countries that have some of this sugar tax or excise duty on carbonated, sweetened beverages, the government provides and take care of their health care in those nations, in those countries. However, you know, in Nigeria, you and I, we take care of absolutely everything that relates to our health care. And if you now impose this excise duty that we have an impact on the final consumer, if for any reason the consumer goes on to consume these products and is maybe plagued with obesity or diabetes, it is that same consumer that will spend his or her money to take care of his health. And this will amount to a form of double taxation, because even after paying the increased fee for increased price for the product, he is still taking care of his health. So I see that the issue of taking care of health is something that we need to really look at, because that's justification for introducing this may not fall under that. Now, the point is government want to raise revenue, and so I think we should concentrate on that.
Yes, okay.
However, is this the right time to raise this revenue? Is this the right way to do that? Play a key role in the gross domestic product of Nigeria. And if you look at the value chain, it plays so much, there are so many players, so many stakeholders in this value chain. And one of the things that has been plaguing them is the issue of infrastructural challenge, issue of power. We have issue of rising FX scarcity. We have issue of high inflation. We have issues of security issues. Now, this has made this particular sector to have, from data, it is shown that between 2021 and 2022, the profit margin of the manufacturing sector nosedived, right, with about 36% reduction in its profit margin. Now, this is a sector that is having these challenges, and introducing this excise duty may in the long run have a negative impact, just as the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has come out to say. Because even if there's an increase in the revenue that we'll get from this excise duty imposition,
all right,
collectively there may be a negative revenue for the government. Because if you look at
thank you, Emmanuel Akwebe. Thank you for your intervention.
This particular
line services of
indexes might be reduced.
Thank you, Emmanuel. We are out of time. Thank you for your intervention. So, Jude, you can't. Sometimes government will come out with this funny policy that is not backed by data. You can see the comparison between Nigeria
and America around 46%.
Yeah.
We are just around 8%, which is lower than the World Health Organization threshold.
And if you know the number of bitter things we love swallowing, not sugary things. Because once you are of a certain age, you will start looking for all these bitter all around, because we know the health implication.
I am concerned about how government policies are making life unbearable for business people in our country. They are saying that if this policy, if this tax is sustained, it will lead to employee salary reduction. Companies will be forced to reduce salary because they won't earn as much as they used to earn. It will lead to retrenchment. It will lead to increase in prices of goods. You know, so taxes usually have unintended consequences. Before we left, before we allowed Akweme to go, he was trying to explain that even the government will not earn as much as it thinks that it will earn.
For
because
everything now is now driven by that revenue.
Even tax itself thrives on earnings. If you don't earn so much, then it means you are going to pay so little by way of taxation. So government's intention may eventually not even be realized when the atmosphere becomes choked up and these companies are struggling. So many companies have already folded up since the COVID era.
Some are contemplating.
Yes, some are still contemplating folding up. Some can't have access, no access to foreign exchange to bring in raw material. So some of them are folding up already. Now we are trying to create even more problems for the ones that are still there. So this will have a kind of ripple effect on so many stakeholders and even the ordinary Nigerian. Those people selling soft drink in traffic jams and the rest of the see those women, hard-working people in the sun, selling soft drinks, in traffic jams. Everyone will be affected at the end of the day.
We have to go. Wale Adoye, thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you today. Thank you for coming. And Okulora, that's my chief, the mouthpiece of the people.
Thanks.
In case those that didn't watch last week, that we are now Okulora.
Yes.
Yes. The mouthpiece of the people from Delta State.
Yes.
Babajide Otidoju. He's not a chief. Go to his page.
In
You will
fact,
last week, some will not watch last week because we had a live transmission. We are off-com. But this week, I want to tell you.
That was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Last week. 2 weeks ago.
How time flies.
The former governor of Imo State,
okay,
our friend, the birthday boy,
okay,
Okorocha.
My people.
Yes, I think he just got to know that I got a chieftaincy title in the southeast. And he said, "You are the Kikero of Nigerian journalism. I'm so happy that you got this traditional title from the southeast." So maybe eventually they will add something else to it.
Yes, sir.
That Madam was not here.
Okay. So, okay, I won't be part of that campaign.
We leave it there.
She's my friend.
We leave it there.
And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for a regular episode of Journalists Hangout by 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11:30 p.m. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Bye for now and see you tomorrow.
TVC News Adedoja Salamadini emerged winner of Lagos reporting category at the 30th Diamond Awards for Media Excellence. As the isolation centers filled up and many Nigerians living in denial, Adedoja dared the odds to bring the dreaded COVID-19 reality to our living rooms. This is the story that resulted in the laurel at the Diamond Awards for Media Excellence, Lagos reporting category.